Hi everyone, in the last part of Cybertruck's assembling we installed an electric motor and all the accessory equipment, but unfortunately we failed to make any ride due to the problem with the gearbox. Now we need to take it off and find the cause of those knocks and gearbox seizure. This can be done only on the table, thus we'll remove it from the Cybertruck. In general, the gearbox itself was not that necessary, but this is the easiest way to implement the all-wheel drive. The knocks can be heard both from the differential and from the central part of the gearbox. Most likely the cause is in teeth that broke, but only a complete disassembly will definitely show us everything. The first step is to drain the oil. Such a homemade bolt key will help to unscrew the plug. Everything was dry, just the gear tooth fell out and a couple of oil drops dripped. Looks like the forecast works well. First we need to unscrew the rear part. It contains the clutch of the back axle cut off. From the first glance, everything is okay with it. And the gears of the fifth gear are also good. Further, the central cast iron part was removed. It contained all the other gears. The differential seems to be okay, but it constantly wedges. That occurred because during the Cybertruck's transportation the broken teeth got into the differential gear case and began to stick between the gearbox body and the differential ring. Therefore, from the beginning the gearbox worked perfectly during the check. And those teeth broke off from the gear wheel of the second gear that formed a single hole with the shaft. It could also cause the wedging, as the damage was quite serious. This kind of damage occurs when you reach the red line in the first speed and abruptly plug in the second gear. Most likely it's not longer possible to find the shaft on sale. It's easier to buy another previously used gearbox. In fact, it's already a scrap metal. Yet if we still want to ride without searching for another box right in this series, there's one rad variant. We just need to remove all the damaged gears, which means to grind the teeth on them with a grinder and on a lathe. Yeah, a couple of gears will be lost, but this is not so important after all. The main thing is that at least one speed should be working. As a result, after grinding a pair of gears and removing the reverse gear, we managed to restore the gearbox and leave a couple of gearings. Now we can put it in its place and make a test. The knocks from the gearbox are gone, which means we can move on to the next stage of preparing the driver's seat. A chair was temporarily installed in the cabin. When I sat down there I realized that there wasn't much space for the pedals. When I put my foot more to the right, it abuts against the frame stud. I have to cut this piece and weld it closer to the engine. Now there's much space and we can install the steering column. As the steering rack is very close to feet, the steering shaft cannot be bent further down and make the steering wheel parallel to the dashboard. We tried to fix this by adding one more steering shaft drive to the shaft. Then the steering column was welded in its place. In order to understand how it'll look like in the future, we made an approximate model of Tesla's steering wheel from the metal cuttings. Now it's clear in which position we need to weld the column mount. It's not a good idea to use another cardan. It should go with a hanger bearing, which will greatly complicate the construction. In the issue, the previously welded cardan was cut off, and the one that remained was sawn off and finalized. Now it can pass the torque to that angle. Next step is the pedals. For the sake of simplicity, I took them second-hand. I only need the brake pedal from the 3 ones, as I don't need the clutch, and the gas pedal will be a little different. I managed to find the position in which the main cylinder won't interfere with the suspension work. Now we only need to connect the brake cylinder to the front calipers only so far, fill in the brake fluid, and we can move out the workshop. As the battery is small, those 72 volts let you move only in a turtle mode. The reverse travel is actuated by toggle switch. A small battery is enough to move such machine only because the first gear is switched on. It has a very large gear ratio. It all works like an underdriving reductor. Now I'd like to try to turn on the 3rd or 4th speed on the gearbox and ride faster. For this purpose, we need to leave the yard. I made a U-turn as the approach road was narrow and it won't work there. I turned around and drove in reverse gear out of the gate. Since the 2nd speed was gone, I turned on the 3rd one and tried to drive. The Cybertruck didn't manage to gain much speed, as there wasn't enough capacity and battery voltage to turn the gearbox at this gear. Still, it's designed for an electric bike. But this battery allowed me to take a little ride on the Cybertruck and understand what it's in general and how the components and assemblies of this car behave. The next level in Cybertruck assembling will be purchase of a normal battery. It's not cheap and it won't be possible to buy it at once. While I'll be saving the money, I'll start preparing the Cybertruck saloon. Thanks everyone for your attention and support. See you in the next part.